Welcome to Because Life is Local, a new podcast called The Business of Community. We'll have conversations with the entrepreneurs, leaders, and organizations helping Prince Edward Island thrive. And today we're very lucky and fortunate to have Jason Aspin, CEO of Aspin Kemp Limited in Montague, to join us today to talk about his company, which has world-beating technology, but it is also targeting new defense opportunities that could bear large fruit for PEI going forward. Jason Aspin, welcome.
Thanks very much, Paul. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Give us a little background, Jason, on Aspin Camp. You're celebrating your 30th anniversary, and it's been a very dramatic expansion over that time in terms of where you've evolved to.
Yeah, it's 30 years, quite a milestone. It's been a ride for sure. We started in a pub in Waterdown, Ontario on April 30th of 1996. Myself and my co-founder met there just this last April 30th for a beer at the same pub. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, we've been in the business of improving the reliability and predictability of power and propulsion systems for mission critical assets in the marine field to start with. And that looks a lot like clean energy looks and microgrids and all of that these days as well. So we've gone into the land-based side of clean energy as well.
So you made the decision, some might call it a poor strategic decision, to relocate Aspin Camp to PEI, but you have a lifelong connection to this place.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up here. We went to high school together. So that's
Yes.
full disclosure.
And
Yeah.
one of us was a significantly better student than the other.
We won't talk about that. But yeah, I mean, I would never have told you when we walked off that graduating stage that I'd be back here running a business. It's a long time ago, whenever it was. Right.
It is, but Aspen Camp didn't start in this province, but you
That's
made
right.
the decision to take it to PEI,
Right.
even though if you looked at sort of the business infrastructure in this province, you were cutting a new path.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting. I'd been doing projects around the world for the first 10 years of AKA, and was living in Singapore at the time, and realized that we needed to have a manufacturing base and an engineering base where we actually put projects together and built them before they went out to ships. And had the choice of continuing in Singapore and building it there, which has, of course, lots of infrastructure for marine companies, or Houston, where most of our client base was. But when I thought more and more about it, I really thought, you know what, it'd be really cool to try and take it home and see how it does. So yeah, it wasn't a huge business analysis or anything like that went into that. It was just a gut feel, I guess, and a desire to take something back to PEI. And for myself too, selfish. I wanted to get home.
Good reason to move. A lot of Islanders have done that over the years. Not all as successful as you, but Aspen Camp first started in Stratford.
Yeah,
What
that's
year
right.
was that, Jason?
That was 2008. It was December 2007. But by the time we had things set up, it was 2008.
And then you moved to Pools Corner, just outside Montague, in a large, sort of an industrial building that was not being used anymore.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that was around 2012. So we bought a spot in Stratford after our first place, which was quite small, and then doubled that and ran out of space there pretty quickly in Pools Corner. The spot there came up, and it was 100,000 square feet. So it was something that we thought we'd never fill, but we've had times where we've been pretty cramped in there as well.
Can you tell me one or two examples of sort of Aspen Camp technology being used around the world, sort of in layman's words?
Sure. So and we've developed technology that helps keep the lights on basically on these marine platforms. So everybody's familiar with what they saw on the horizon in the Gulf of Mexico. That's what can happen if the lights go out. So those are mission critical applications, and we moved the needle significantly in industry. So the industry standard was kind of 20 years for a vessel on average before there's a problem where you lose the ability to maintain the position of the vessel. So 20-year mean time between failure, that is. And we've moved the needle on that and taken that to 350 years. And at that point, we found another fault that hadn't been really recorded in industry, and fixed that.
So how do you figure out that a piece of, I guess, engineering, a platform, can last 350 years?
So we installed our systems on over 50 assets where we've put in our technology, and 50 assets over 20 years, you can get to 350 operating years.
It is world leading technology without understating it.
It is, we have the best track record as far as predictability and reliability in the world on our systems.
So you've succeeded in this, and then Canada in the last year or so has begun a significant pivot to expansion of our military capacity, and you see opportunity there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the oil and gas market obviously has mission critical sorts of applications where losing power can be a really bad day, but so does defense. If you lose power on a defense asset when you really need to fight or flight, it can be very bad too. So, Canada seems to, like you say, pivoted to become quite serious about upgrading and building up its defense capabilities. And also at the same time, trying to make as much of that sovereign as possible. So using small companies, medium companies, and Canadian companies basically to fill in the industrial gaps that are needed to be filled in. So we see that as an opportunity. We are putting a lot of effort into it, a lot of focus on it. We'd like to become the de facto standard for the entire NATO fleet as far as power and propulsion technologies go.
You've mentioned to me in the past, Jason, that what you've developed in Pools Corner, and nobody would know this on the island because I've driven by 1,000 times, and I've never really appreciated how significant the capacity is that you've developed there. But what does that actually mean when you say you want to become a NATO test site or the gold standard?
Yeah, so for the system technologies that we've developed, because of the track record we have in industry, we can do what the Prime Minister's office has been talking about, dual utilizing proven industrial technology to be applied into the defense sector. So we have a track record that is solid. It's been over 2 decades of utilization in industry where we've proven these technologies. So it's a perfect example of how that could be dual utilized and put onto vessels in the Canadian fleet, but also we feel it's technology that can be exported to the rest of the NATO fleet. So that's basically what our hope is. We'll start with our own Navy if we can get the thin edge of the wedge in there.
Well, Prime Minister Carney, in a very famous speech several months ago, talked about mid-powers of the world
Yeah.
joining together to sort of offset some of the turbulence that we see internationally right now. And you've sort of taken that upon yourself from a business industrial perspective. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah. So after the defense industrial strategy came out, within 2 weeks, we had Hanwha, who's hoping to win the submarine program, but to build 12 submarines for the Canadian Navy. They knocked on our door, came to PEI to look at our capabilities, and within 2 weeks, we had a partnering agreement with Hanwha, who's the fourth largest company in Korea, and another smaller company about our size called KTE, and they're a systems integrator similar to us. So there's some overlap between ourselves, but between the three companies, we put together this partnering agreement. But I feel that the middle power speech, and unabashedly stole from the prime minister, the middle powers idea. But middle sized companies can get together to work together and collaborate and take on the larger organizations, electrical companies like the Siemens, ABBs, GEs of the world that really are hard to it's hard to break into for a small company like us to deliver a high end ship. In the past, we've always had a heavy level of customer support on that. But if you're just dealing directly with a shipyard, it's difficult to provide the financial depth that they want to have or see. So together, I believe middle companies can do that. And Hanwha said very much they supported that idea too. So KTE and ourselves will work together to collaborate, and the whole defense industrial strategy has kind of already started working with the intent that I've seen the Prime Minister Carney's intent with this strategy to build beyond just the military and build collaborative partnerships with other companies around the world and be able to export Canadian technology to other parts of the world. So that's already started. We had the KTE engineers over here about 2 weeks ago. We did a technology exchange with them. They exchanged some of their information with us. We did some training with their engineers and talked in depth about our technologies. So the process is already working, even though the sub program hasn't been awarded yet. And I would say it will work regardless. Like we will be partnering with these companies, whether this doesn't really matter what the sub program brings. Those partnerships are there.
And that's sort of the mid-power
Yeah,
collaboration that has been the buzzword. But if Hanwha does win the subcontract, and we should know by the end of this month, I guess, that would have
yeah.
major impact on PEI and your company, correct?
It would for sure. It's 10-year build program and then 40 years of in-service support. So it's a generational sort of multi-generational sort of project.
But from sort of your strategic view going forward, this partnership with KTE will allow big by any standards except international, who are probably a little more nimble than the really big players, to bring
Yeah.
their own strengths to play. And you see this as a way of accessing markets that you currently can't really competitively play in.
Yeah, for sure. For us, we've got the technology for these high spec vessels that Korea builds. Other than China, Korea is the biggest shipbuilding country in the world, and they build large, high end vessels that we've participated in the past. But it's hard for us to access that market without having a local presence. And KTE can provide that local presence for us, and we can provide the technology and some of the key elements, and they also don't have access to the North American or European market easily. So, through us, we can access that market and they can participate with us. They build some things that we don't build, and we build some things that they don't build. So, together, we're a much stronger force. And I think we can, rather than protecting our existing business streams, we see it as an opportunity to expand into business streams that we don't have right now.
Jason, one of the things that we hear a lot of in this province right now is a labor shortage. How have you found working back in your home province, and how do you deal with things like labor, getting the workers you need?
Yeah, it's tougher now than it has been in the past. I think everybody knows that, kind of the ability to bring people into the country has gotten a little harder in the last 4 or 5 years. But we still throw the net pretty broadly around the world looking for people, and we're still able to bring them in. It still works.
Does PEI have any unique selling points when you're trying to recruit employees?
If they like it in February, they're here forever.
That's when Islanders are leaving in, in February.
Well, it,
Uh,
it 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 does so, Paul. I mean, some people are looking for the big city and the buzz, but most of the people that we bring in, they recognize this is a spot that's a good place to raise a family. It's a beautiful place. It's safe. It's not perfect, but nowhere is perfect. But the people that we bring in are usually people that expect that, and they grow into it quite well and love it here.
how big is AKA now? How many employees?
We're about 150 now. Yeah,
Wow. And in terms of, the Holland College just got a $15 million donation from Loblaw's family, I think, the Weston
yeah.
family. And part of that is training. What type of employees are you looking for? And does I got to tell you, ask about AI because that's on the buzzword for everybody. Does that impact how or what you do business today or tomorrow?
Absolutely. I'll start with the Holland College bit first. I mean, we employ a lot of people in the trades, electrical, mechanical, mostly, and automation as well. So there's a lot of the programs that Holland College has that supply people to us, and it's been very successful. We've had great folks come out of there. With respect to AI, that's an emerging sort of technology, and it'll be interesting to see what both Holland College and UPEI put together to kind of address the pull for that. As a company, we're in early days of figuring out all the different ways we can use it. I think if you don't use it and figure that out, you'll be obsolete pretty soon as a company goes. But it's definitely a powerful tool, and we're only just starting to understand how many different ways it can be used, especially in industry. I think industry is a bit slower to adopt things like this.
Well, you can't afford to get a widget in the wrong spot.
That's true. Yeah.
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 Jason Aspin, anything else you'd like to add?
I think, you know, from being on PEI, back in PEI with the company, I hope that we can really grow a sector here that leads in the marine sector, defense, around marine systems, power and propulsion systems, but also, the next generation of energy, new clean energy. I think that in PEI we can develop that into a major export, and if we get enough interest here and in Atlantic Canada in general, and create enough collaboration, and then I can see us being leaders in this globally. And as a company, I think that I really would like to see as much glue as possible sticking AK to PEI, because I'm not going to be here forever. And I'd like to be a lot more here in the business environment that keeps AKA here, not just because the employees and the people want to be here, but because we're creating something great with other great companies. So,
Jason Aspin, let's leave it at that.
all right.
Really appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Great to talk to you. Take
All
care.
the best. Thank you.